and welcome everyone to another insightful episode of Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, the podcast that dives deep into the world of small businesses, leadership, change management, and business strategy. I'm your host, Maheen, and today we have a very special guest with us, Heather Haslam, the Vice President of Marketing at ADP Canada. Heather's journey as a seasoned and dynamic senior marketing leader inspires us all. Her unique ability to drive change and foster productivity is truly extraordinary, crossing boundaries of marketing, sales channel development, product management, and mergers and acquisitions. In today's podcast, we'll delve into the exciting world of marketing in ADP Canada, unravel the interpretation of the National Work Happiness Score, discuss the reasons behind Gen Z's increased happiness at work, and explore the strategies ADP has developed for improving the workplace environment. We'll also discuss the action steps ADP Canada is taking to increase satisfaction in areas of compensation, benefits, career advancement options, as well as the challenges and strategies of dealing with the happiness quotient of Gen Z and millennial workers. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Maheen. Thank you so much for having me today.
Very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. And Heather, we're very excited to have you with us today. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts on these amazing topics, as well as how ADP Canada plans to use these insights from the May 2023 Happiness at Work Index in their marketing efforts and initiatives.
Wonderful.
So without further ado, let's dive in. But before we do that, Heather, we would love to know a little bit more about you, right? Like, could you describe your path as an established and dynamic senior marketing leader with a special focus on motivating individuals towards change and improved productivity across multiple sectors? And additionally, please provide some insight into your duties in your current role as the VP of Marketing at ADP Canada.
Sure. So first of all, I had the pleasure of starting my career in the support of small businesses. So I don't know anything about consumer marketing. I always admit that. I've spent my whole career focused on some version of marketing, but you alluded to other functions as well, in support of specifically the Canadian market, as well as a focus on small business. And there's a tremendous opportunity. We are a country that is driven and really supported primarily by small businesses. And we have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit here in Canada. And so my role at ADP as an HR leader is that I actually get to support what insights and toolkits, assets, information, so that our small businesses in Canada can make more informed decisions. And so I alluded to ADP Canada being a HR leader. And as part of an HR leader, when we think about small businesses supporting people specifically, because Maheen, work gets done through people. HR is a very important area, and it's often an unfunded function in small businesses. You know, small business owners wear many hats and often take on the leadership role of people. And so we're trying to support them by giving them tools and insights so that the people side of their work is easier, so that they get the most out of their people, so that their people are more engaged, happier in the workplace, they stay longer, they can attract better talent, all in an effort so that small business owners can actually focus on what it is that they do best, which is their business.
You just put it up in such a beautiful way. It's just amazing to hear the importance of the HR element for small business owners, considering they wear many hats. Now, coming back to the Happiness Score Index, Heather, how does ADP Canada interpret the National Work Happiness Score of 6.7 out of 10 for May 2023, and how does this rating affect the strategies you develop to improve the work environment in Canada?
Okay. First, let me tell you about the ADP Happiness at Work Index. So this is something that we do on a monthly basis, and we go out and speak to a representative sample across the country of working Canadians. And that's both full-time working Canadians as well as part-time, and across a number of industries. And so in the first week of every month, we pulse those working Canadians with really two parts of the question. One is half of the measure, what I'll say is the score, is made up of the simple answer of rating out of 10 your happiness in your current role and responsibility. And then the second half has really 4 subcategories. And those are main drivers of happiness. And they include work-life flexibility. They include compensation and benefits. They include the support for advancement and career development, as well as their support and recognition from leaders as well as their peers. And so those 4 subcategories are the other half of the score.
Right.
So that's kind of the background. We go out before the end of the month so that we're providing a close to real-time pulse on working Canadians' happiness. And there's a national score. And then one element that we really hope to create over time that is already included, we've been at this now for a few months, so we're starting to create a bit of a baseline, is both not just the national score, but also regional and so geographical scores as well as generational, because where it is that we work matters, and where it is that we are in our life stage also matters in terms of our happiness. And so the goal of this is to provide small business owners, decision makers, people leaders, and I would say all working Canadians with this close to real-time pulse so that they can make better decisions around perhaps when to make change, how to communicate change, what are some areas of focus, where are there opportunities in terms of driving happiness of their workers.
No, it's great to learn the motivation and inspiration behind conducting these surveys. It's very important. I feel like it's very essential, for the current times that we're in. Now, Heather, we've noticed a significant rebound in the happiness score for Gen Z in the May 2023 Happiness at Work Index. Could you shed light on the reasons behind this? Like, were there any specific actions or policy changes that ADP Canada or other employers initiated that might have contributed to this?
It's a very good question. So we don't go into the why with the survey. We can certainly hypothesize. What we do know is that there are specific drivers for Gen Z that are, I'm a marketer, so I'm going to say provide more of an opportunity, those lower score areas, right? So the lower score areas around career advancement and opportunities it is really a key driver. The changes over time, specifically for Gen Z, when we started in terms of between November and February, we're at a 7 out of 10, which, always comparing to the national score overall is important. So Gen Z at 7 versus the national score of 6.7 is a difference. So we were doing really well. We've dipped down in the months since, and then we were way down at 6.4, and we popped back up in May to 6.9. So we're seeing that rebound. What we do know about working Canadians is we're whole people. And what it is that's happening outside of our workplace impacts our workplace and vice versa. So I'll always go back to what are the things that we know that Gen Z specifically cares about, and that where there's more opportunity, those lower scores. And really those employers that are investing in their talent, not just to attract them and onboard them, but to actually keep them engaged around ongoing advancement, around opportunities to learn, as well as creating a bit of a path, being able to provide a vision of where else somebody can go. Now, you might be thinking, Raheen, well, small businesses, they're small. And so it's, there's potentially not, hey, there's another role or a different opportunity. But they are, right? What we know about individuals, human nature, is we all want to be learning and developing and getting better. So it's about creating the opportunity with Gen Z talent to share what are expectations. Do check-ins. Actually having one-to-one conversation so that you understand what is that individual's priority right now. What are their ambitions? What are they looking to achieve? And also something that I always want to tap into is understanding what their strengths are. So if a small business owner invests to get to know their talent and know what those ambitions are and know what that person is really good at, what are the things that they do that fills their cup, so to speak, that's actually what drives happiness. And that's really critical. So in terms of what over the past couple months, I can't help but think that warmer weather is helping. I just came in from the outdoors and talked about patio season with you. As much as it might seem, not as important in the workplace, creating opportunities inside as well as outside of the workplace to connect and actually get to know workers and their leaders in terms of those expectations is critical. So again, the survey doesn't go into exactly why, but I'm an optimist and think that through the summer, we're certainly going to be seeing a boost. To those national scores.
All those brunches and lunches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even doing one-on-ones. I'll walk around the block, right? Not everybody's in an office. Not everybody has the opportunity to get out of their workplace. But even just changing the four walls is really an easy way of connecting and actually getting to be focused on the conversation. Really, when I say focused, I'm not distracted by other stuff. I don't have my computer. I don't have, I'm actually dedicating time to you and investing time to you. And I feel it when you do the same.
Right. Now, Heather, while these trends are, very important, but they also kind of influence, employee happiness can vary across different industries. It can vary across, different company cultures and individual preferences, as how you just stated. Before we delve deeper into the different factors, how about we take a little short break and then we'll be right back into hearing more insights from you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Let's resume our discussion on the reasons behind the observed rebound in happiness scores for Gen Z. Now, Heather, the report emphasizes that the primary indicator of worker happiness increased, with 44% of workers satisfied with their roles and responsibilities. How does ADP Canada plan to improve the score even further?
Well, as an HR leader in the Canadian market, it is a primary focus to make sure that we're helping all Canadian employers. So I'll certainly, I can tout the value of using ADP software or using ADP as an HR leader, but as a marketer, our focus is to make sure that we're assisting all small business owners with what it is that they need. So when we go back to what those drivers are, we always think about what are the tools. So what are the simple tools that we can help employers with? And that's really about taking tools that enterprises uses, that larger companies that they're competing with often have on hand, and scaling it in a way that can be leveraged by small business owners. So things like, how do you create succession plans with a small team? How do you create clarity of success? How do you sit down and formalize having those ongoing dialogues, even if it's remote, but certainly the preference is always face to face. What are the ways in which you can build trust between managers and employees so that you really get to a place where you understand what those needs are and then you're supporting it, right? So I always default to career advancement and the skills developed, but it doesn't need to be just always what is the next big step and leaving the organization. It could be as simple as what are the skills that you want to develop? What are the things that you love doing? And knowing that and then creating a bit of a plan, there's often ways in which a small business owner can get even more out of their talent by expanding a role, by creating a little bit of job shadowing, by being transparent about the why with people. The why part is very important in terms of grounding employees with the purpose behind it. And so having transparent, ongoing dialogues, being transparent about the background and the context, as well as the expectation setting around measurement, really what does success look like? How will we know? Having those discussions, that's kind of one of the examples. But also things like work-life balance. We all are striving for work-life balance. In fact, what we've noticed at ADP through our workplace insight studies is that work-life balance has actually now jumped to the top spot in terms of driver for happiness and engagement over compensation and benefits. So what's the takeaway? How do you support that? So what are the tools to actually support work-life balance? And that's not just knowing the individual and trying to build policies and work practices that are flexible to each individual. But it's also around creating opportunities for people to disconnect. It's actually also about reinforcing the value of taking vacation. We also know from other workplace insight studies that we do annually on the time off tax. This is the tax, the amount of time that a worker has to put in prior to taking vacation and upon their return in order to take their necessary time off. That's critical, right? Creating backup so that people can take a break from work. Ensuring that there's transparent conversation when there are changes to talent. If there are layoffs, being upfront about that. The right to disconnect in terms of after hours, potentially. There are a number of tools that small business owners can be aware of. It's their baby often, right? Small business owners, especially when they own it, it's their baby and they'll want to do it, as much as possible. But creating expectations with workers, both in terms of what their expectations are and what their workers need in order to really strive that work-life balance, so that when a worker is at work, they're more engaged. We certainly want them happy, but they actually contribute more to the bottom line, right? We know that engaged workers have more productivity. We know that engaged workers have less sick time, less benefit, requirements. We know that holistic, healthy individuals that are striving that good balance are actually better inside work as well as outside. So it really behooves us all to support that. And so the answer simply is creating the tools that small business owners need to really help them do this effectively with the talent that they're acquiring, as well as the talent that they have. And why I say the talent that they're acquiring is, we often negate the value of being really upfront about what a culture is. Right. And not everybody's a fit for every environment. And so it's really important that, when small businesses are going out and actually hiring, that it's not just about the role, but they're clearly articulating what the expectations are. What is the culture? Is this a place that has a foosball table in the middle of the lunchroom that, this is, or is it, a different type of environment? The more that they're actually able to be transparent and share what that culture is, the better that candidate's able to assess whether or not that's going
It's
to be a
right
good
or
fit.
not,
And then
yeah.
it saves us all money and time, right? Because there isn't that, jumping into a job and then it not being successful. So it's really about both with candidates as well as with your
With
existing
employees.
team.
Wow, that was very well said, Heather. Now, Heather, among secondary indicators, compensation and benefits, and options for career advancements have the lowest scores. What steps is ADP Canada considering to boost satisfaction levels in these areas?
Okay, so the career advancement piece, I've talked a little bit about those tools,
Yes.
and that's really important. That's actually important for all generations. So, our boomers are the happiest generation, which is great, but they also require, still that path and what that skill development we all need to be learning. Specifically around compensation, it's actually one of the lowest scores in terms of the generational score. And so it's about understanding what the expectations are. How are small business owners able to fill up compensation requirements, maybe in other ways? Maybe it's an allocation for training and development dollars, right?
Right.
Things like that. Maybe it's actually vacation or actually just taking your vacation. There are a number of ways of doing that. Also, what's very important is understanding benchmarking around compensation, right? So not just getting really good at when a small business owner is looking to hire, getting really good at the job description, clearly articulating what the expectations are. We have tools for small business owners around employee handbooks so that there's clarity around policies and procedures. Those are the types of tools, but also salary benchmarking, understanding what the market kind of relative amount is for various roles is key, as well as I can't help but mention, ensuring that there's pay equity so that like for like roles are treated fairly regardless of your gender. But one that's really important for Gen Z is the experience piece, because they're our youngest group of generation of working Canadians, making sure that they really have the tools that they need in order to build that skill development so that they can get to where it is that they need to from a compensation where they aspire to.
Right. No, these are some great ways to actually bring those lower scores factors up to higher. But thank you so much the way you've kind of put it up step by step for the benefit of the small business owners. Now, Heather, while the report shows boomers being the happiest working generation, Gen Z and millennial workers' happiness seems to present some challenges. Could you discuss what challenges ADP Canada identifies when dealing with these younger generations' happiness, and what strategies are you implementing to cater specifically to these younger generations?
So we actually use the index for ourselves in terms of as an employer ourselves, but also for how it is that we're helping small businesses. So let me answer the question first as ADP as an employer. We really try to take advantage of the insights that we're learning about the Canadian market and generational needs in our hiring practices. So, clarity of job description, making sure that we're creating as inclusive environments as possible culturally, that we're also creating as diverse of a population as possible so that it's representative of the Canadian market. So things like age is important, level of experience, but also, a whole number of other factors as well. What I will tell you is when people leaders are looking for candidates, we're really trying to push the bar on the experience levels and making sure that we're creating training and development opportunities internally that they require, right? Expecting that somebody just coming out of, say, university is going to have all of the tools that they need isn't reasonable. So it's actually about empowering and equipping the people leaders with what those tools are, right? So not to have those expectations around what skills there are, and making sure that relationship, the employer-employee relationship, because it's not just money. It's when we say compensation benefits, it's the entire package, right? It's the amount that I'm getting exposed to. It's the amount that I'm learning. It's who within my network I'm able to communicate with. Even things like ensuring that the hierarchy is removed, right? So that new people starting out their career get exposure to senior leaders, that they get the opportunity to work on those juicy, close to the fire kind of projects and opportunities, yes. Right? And ensuring that we're not just that we're negating the value of what I say fresh eyes, right? Bringing in a new spirit. So equipping people leaders at all levels with the tools to hire, but also how do you engage your people is key. We use our own product, right? So we drink our own champagne. ADP Canada uses Standout. And this is a tool that we acquired from the Marcus Buckingham company. Okay. And this is a very simple tool that allows for a weekly check-in. So let me tell you just a little bit about what that means. You think a weekly check-in, what does that mean? It's actually a system, a technology that on a weekly basis, I, for my leaders, and my team for me, answer simple questions.
Wow.
What did I love this week? And what did I loathe? And how do I feel about the value that I contributed? And how do I feel about the amount of time that I got to use my strengths? And what that does for people leaders is it gives them line of sight to really how engaged they are and how happy they are. Because when somebody is able to do more work that is focused on their strengths, that fills their cup, number one. And it also provides people leaders with this chance of understanding, when I say the loves and the lows, what are the things that really gave energy and what are the things that withdrew energy? It's amazing. I have a number of people on my team who, over time, having shared their loves and lows, I'm like, that's his loathe, but her love. Maybe I could actually change that so that I'm actually giving the stuff that the people who love doing that get to do more of, and taking it off of that other person's plate so that there's more time to do the things that he loves. And that's a very simple tool that on a weekly basis it provides that quick. It's a 5-minute touch point that we do for ourselves. So that's an example. Now, we also make it available to the Canadian market, I'll admit.
That's amazing.
But those are the types of tools. But I would also say that the insights that we are equipping small business owners in Canada across a multitude of industries, as well as life cycle, right? Small businesses that are just starting out, the beginning, a startup, an entrepreneur doing this for the first time requires a different set of insights and tools than somebody who's been at this for 35 years and is potentially transitioning ownership, right? So creating tools for small business owners throughout their own life cycle to really, again, maximize what it is that they get out of their people.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right that, it just provides a great framework to work on in terms of, if you're working with your people in the organization. Now, Heather, lastly, could you share how ADP Canada is planning to utilize all these great findings from the May 2023 Happiness at Work Index in their marketing strategies and initiatives, especially when you're reaching out to both, the potential employees and the employers?
Well, we use it to help us understand where to focus.
Right.
Right. So again, I'm a marketer, so I'll always say that there's an opportunity. And despite the fact that I know I'm not supposed to look at my son's report card and go straight to the lowest grade, where we look at the lowest scores, we see that's where there's tremendous opportunity. If we can help employers, decision makers, small business owners, people leaders with the tools that they need to focus and bring up those lower scores, then the entire score will go up across the country,
Right.
which is what we're looking for.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Heather Haslam, Vice President of Marketing at ADP Canada, sharing her fascinating insights on marketing strategies, change management, and workplace happiness. From understanding the significance of the National Work Happiness Score to unveiling the strategies to cater to Gen Z and millennial workers, our discussion today has been nothing short of enlightening. Heather's dynamic approach and commitment to improving workplace environment and overall employee satisfaction are indeed inspirational, and her insights are sure to guide our listeners, whether potential employers or employees, in making informed decisions about their careers and organizations. Thank you, Heather, once again for joining us at our podcast today. It was a pleasure hearing everything that you had to share today with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our deep dive into these critical topics, and we look forward to bringing you more engaging conversations with leaders making a difference in the world of business. On behalf of Canadian SME, I'd like to thank our exclusive partners who made this podcast possible: RBC, our banking partner; UPS, our shipping partner; and Xero, our accounting software partner. Your support has been instrumental in helping us bring these insights to our audience. Please don't forget to join for our next episode, where we continue to delve into the fascinating world of work dynamics and their impacts. Until then, remember, change is not a threat, it's an opportunity. So let's embrace it, and together we can champion change. This is Maheen, your host for the Small Business Podcast.